instead of point the finger at everybody else and say, well, you're just not happy for me, or you're just not this. It was, Rachel, are you really happy in not having time? Are
Mhm.
you really, do you really love, because I love to work. Work is my hobby, which sounds
Okay.
crazy,
No,
but
I get it. I get it.
I love it.
Yeah.
It allows me to express my creativity. It's something that I just really thoroughly enjoy. But what I didn't have was the balance
Hmm.
between the two. And so going into that was the mindset I thought I had. In order to have success, I had to give up all of my family, all of my time of what that looked like, or I could have my family and my time, but I couldn't have a business.
Welcome to the Audacious Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Manning. This show is for the person who knows they're built for more. Welcome to your next level. Welcome to the Audacious Founder Podcast. My name is Melissa Manning. I am your host, an Audacious Founder, and your expert on all things entrepreneurship. Today, I am joined with Rachel Closson. She is a master high performance coach with over 24 years of entrepreneurial experience, dedicated to helping highly driven businesswomen uncover the truth that fulfillment isn't just something we chase, it's who we choose to become. Through her exclusive white glove coaching, working with only 3 elite women every 6 months, and her transformative retreats for ambitious women, Rachel empowers her clients to redefine success on their own terms and create lives they genuinely love. Her unique approach combines deep, straightforward, insightful coaching with a dynamic, positive energy, fostering breakthroughs that lead to lasting change. Thank you so much for being here, Rachel. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yes. So I got in touch with you, Rachel, through brand builders, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. The amazing
And
brand builders.
they're so great.
They
And
are.
so I had the pleasure of having a Zoom call and getting to know Rachel a little bit the other day. And it was so awesome to hear your backstory and everything that you've done. And I really like hearing stories where women specifically have started businesses that are very different than the kinds of things that I've personally started. And then also hearing about the journey of how you got from there to here. So please give us a little background on how you got started and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my dad actually was an entrepreneur. So I have a little bit of that be your own boss in my blood for sure. But it actually, I want to take us back way, way back, actually, when I was 14 years old and I was diagnosed with dyslexia. Now, at that time, having this learning disorder, I didn't know what that meant. All I knew is that I was essentially, quote unquote, different. There was something about me that wasn't like everybody else. And in that time and in that moment of hearing those words, that find that my life was going to be, it was going to look very different than everybody else.
Mm.
And I really took on this concept of, why is this happening to me? And I guess I'm going to have to do this on my own. And yes,
I have questions.
yes.
What about that made you feel so different?
Well, at the time, because this was obviously, well, let's see, 30, almost 30 years ago. Well, no, 25 years ago, they didn't have all of these programs. And it's like, what do you do with a dyslexic child in school? They didn't have the programs. They didn't have, the teachers didn't know how to help a student with this other than, okay, she learns extremely different.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like reading was just, it was awful. I couldn't remember what I was reading. And it was just, everything was a struggle. And Melissa, the crazy part was, I remember teachers just giving me grades. It wasn't even like working through this or trying to figure out how can we actually help her learn.
Yeah.
It was, here, just let's pass you.
Oh
And
my
that was it.
gosh.
Yeah, it was really crazy. And I remember my folks even saying at that time, like, we had no idea what this even was. and how we could even help you. And so that mindset of, I am going to have to figure this out on my own,
Yeah.
really started at such a very, very young age. And I obviously later in life, I've realized just all of these things have just really knit my story together and have been the trials have become such these wonderful triumphs. But in that time frame, I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
so going through school and struggling and trying to find my place, I realized I'm going to do this on my own. And I really went and adopted the whole entrepreneur mindset of, again, if someone is going to have a business or is going to hire me, it's going to be on my own terms.
Mm.
And I graduated high school when I was 16. I got out very, very early through adult school, and I graduated with my diploma and all of that. And
Okay, hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. They, I don't know, 2 years earlier, we were like, we don't even know if you're going to graduate or graduate on
right.
time. But not
Yes.
only did you graduate, you graduated 2 years early.
Yes. And that was the beauty of me learning at my own pace. So this wasn't about a teacher teaching me. This was about what was it that I needed to do and learn at my rate and
Oof,
how I needed to learn. How they say, like,
I
a lot
love
of
that.
kids, they want to stand up, everybody learns differently in the classroom. And that was me. And
Yeah.
so I graduated early and I thought, all right, what am I going to do with my life? And because my dad was a chiropractor and owned his own practice, I really started trying to figure out, how did I want to help people, because I myself wasn't helped.
Hmm.
And really a lot of that I loved was in the beauty and the aesthetics industry. And so I went to esthetician school and I went through that whole dynamic. And then I realized, I don't know if I want to do this in particular. And so I actually got into permanent makeup. And so I was tattooing makeup for quite some time. And I rented a place in my dad's office. And then I got into working with a doctor and creating a med spa. And so it wasn't necessarily my plan, 17, 18 years old, to, I want this med spa and it's going to be big and great. It was, I just started with me and what do I need to do in order to start getting these steps going for my business. And it was amazing. Like I loved working. I was a little bit of a workaholic and I had my own schedule and it was fantastic. And I thoroughly enjoyed helping other women feel better about themselves through this art of permanent makeup. And then we had the economic downturn and our economy just went to trash. And so did my business. And so it was one of those things where I was like, what am I going to do now? And I mean, I had my med spa for over 13 years. So
Oh,
this wasn't something that I had just started a year, 2 years. I mean, this was something that I had poured so much of my time into for it to just completely go away. And so fast forwarding having that entrepreneurial spirit, I always was looking for, what can I do of still being my own boss? But the reality also was, my husband was like, Rachel, we've got to still make ends meet, bills and mortgage and all that type of stuff. And so he was like, in this meantime, you're going to have to go and actually get a job somewhere, not just doing this entrepreneurial journey, but like actually working for somebody.
which is
And I
like the
did.
worst thing for an entrepreneur to ever hear.
Right? It's
Yeah.
just like cursed words. And so
Yeah.
I
It's
was
just
like,
like the
okay,
opposite
fine.
of your identity.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I thought, okay, I can do this for a short time, but I'm going to need to come up with another plan.
When
And
you wait,
so
wait. So you graduated at 16 and then you started working in your dad's business. Had you ever, but like not for him, for yourself in your dad's business. And
yes.
Had you ever had like a normal job, work at like a Starbucks or something when you were a kid? Like what?
Yes, I did. So that time, that transition, just because I graduated so early and obviously being able to work, I worked at a law office
Oh,
and I was like front office, it's like secretary. So I had done some work in that sense. And I was like, this is not for me at all. I mean, it was great. The people were wonderful. And I mean, I definitely learned things that I liked and that I didn't like. One of them was working for somebody else. That wasn't for me. And so, but I also had to go to school to be an esthetician. I had to take the classes for the permanent makeup. So I had to do all of these things, which still took time. But yes, I have definitely tiptoed into having a quote unquote, if you want to say real job that was an 8 to 5.
so when your husband was like, okay, time for you
Yes,
to go find a job, you had something to compare it to. You
I
compared it
did.
to the law office.
I did.
Okay.
And that's where I thought this is only temporary.
Yeah.
This is not my forever. And that's what I love about all of our choices that we receive is we don't necessarily have to make them our forever.
Mhm.
They can be, hey, I have to step into this, but stepping into this, it can be temporary. And
Yeah.
that was my temporary until I found solution to whatever that was going to be. And in that chunk of time, I moved. And so I was we were moving all over the place. So really, in hindsight, when looking back, that loss of business of my med spa was really just transitioning me into that next chapter of my life. And so did it end at the time that I wanted and how I wanted it to? No. But was it building me up and preparing me for that next piece and chapter? Yes, it absolutely was. So like I said, it wasn't easy, but it was definitely something that I needed to lean into.
I'm just like processing a question because I don't know. I'm curious, like in the people that you have worked with and just the people that in your life, do you think most people go into a decision with the knowing that this can be temporary if I want it to be, that I can make a change later on? Or do you think that that is sort of associated with an entrepreneurial mindset?
That's a great question because, and I would actually encourage anyone listening to this to ask themselves the choices that I'm given and the decisions that I make. Am I aware of this decision not having to essentially be permanent? But can this decision just be something that's temporary? I think a lot of us, and that's why a lot of us don't like change, and a lot of us don't like stepping into something new because we think, if I step into this, I'm done. Like I have to just have it. And
Yeah.
that's not true.
Yeah.
Now, going through the motion and the action, because they obviously say action creates clarity. Me just
Hmm.
stepping into something gives me two choices. Do I want to make this permanent or do I want to make this a stepping stone, which is temporary?
Right.
And that's where at the time I didn't realize that. But now when I am given choices to make and decisions, I say, okay, well, is this something that is my forever?
Mhm.
Or is this just my temporary stepping stone that's going to now take me to that next place?
What came to my mind was like when you're moving to a new place, right? Not
Mhm.
necessarily a job, but like moving to a new country, a new state. You moved to Hawaii and then you moved back. And so, right, I feel like a lot of people, when they're thinking about moving, even me, if I think about moving somewhere, it's almost like inherently it is a permanent decision. And then
Right.
I have to remind myself that no, actually, okay, I can move there. And then if I don't like it, I can move somewhere else or I can move back. I mean, yes, okay, there's a lot of like maybe drama and there's a lot of work and effort that goes along with moving a job or making a particular decision potentially, but there is flexibility always. There is always an
There
out.
is.
Yeah.
Yes, there
Yeah.
is flexibility and the dynamics can always change. We're
Mhm.
never stuck in a situation. There's generally always an out. Not to say that that out isn't challenging or difficult or something that we have to move through. But like you said, I went from California to Hawaii to Washington to now here in Tennessee. And each one of those stepping stones of moving really just kind of gave a perspective of what I want in my life, what I don't want in my life,
Yes.
what this looks like and what that looks like. And so going into something, whether it's a new job or a new relationship, new chapters, I like to call them, they don't always have to end by slamming the book closed and putting it on the shelf and being like, I'm done with this, but rather this was a really great opportunity to learn during this time. Now it's time to close this chapter to see what is opening up here in future. So it's not all doom and gloom, but again, it's the mindset of how we actually look at this from that perspective of we have choices, right? You don't have to move somewhere and then just stay there. If you don't like it, you can have those steps to then get out of that.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, I feel like people have there's like a stigma around changing your mind,
Yes.
right? Of like making a decision and then not sticking with it, right? Going and
Right.
making that move or taking that new job and deciding you don't like it. Then people are like, oh, well, you change your mind all the time, or you don't like anything. There's like kind of a stigma around saying, actually, I don't like this. I'm going to make another change. I'm going to try
Right.
something new.
Yes. And I think that's so important that we have to realize we are the only ones that can change ourselves. So if we can't change everything outside of us, but we can change what we are choosing to either be part of or not part of, that is where you have the actual power is in those decisions and whatnot. But and that kind of just leads me into when I did move and my business had shut down and I had gone through all of these different things and I had to get real jobs but then I also then realized, okay, what is it that I'm wanting? Because I really had to have this come to Jesus meeting where it was like, okay, I am the person that is in charge of what I'm going to do with my future. I have these choices and am I setting myself up for success? Am I putting myself in these actionable moments that are going to create this clarity of what I'm wanting? And at that time I wasn't. I was kind of just in this stuck place of, I don't really know what I want. This just failed on me because again, in my mind, that economic disaster I thought was happening to me. But then I got into another line of work in the direct sales and network marketing. And I really thought, because I had never done it before, I do not want to do this. And I obviously did and have been 9.5 years later. But it was one of those things where we have decisions of, do I want to continue this path? Yeah. Or are there things that I also need to look at that might need to change in my perspective? And that was one of those things, especially with that completely shifted for me again.
It's such I want to say a long conversation. And it's such a mindful, self-aware conversation because it's also like you're asking yourself, okay, what about this situation, right? What was the job that you took when your husband was first like, you need to take this job?
It was at a hospital. It was a sleep center.
Okay, sounds exhilarating.
It was so exciting. Sleep, right?
Yeah. I mean, sleep is pretty cool. Like
sleep is great at night.
Yeah. Like you have to, in that moment, or when you're sitting at the desk in that law office that you worked at, right? You have to ask yourself, like, what is it specifically about this that I do not like?
Yes.
What do I like? Right. Yes. But I think a lot of us, we're in the feeling so much that we're just like, this sucks. I hate it. I don't want to be here. That sometimes we don't even think to stop and kind of analyze the situation. Because again, your point of like each move or each maybe little bit of risk that you're taking teaches you something new about the world and about yourself, what you like, what you don't like. But the only way to like really learn from that is to actually be aware of it and listen to it and take some notes here and there.
Yeah, I mean, but doing. It's the
The doing.
doing
Yes.
that is what creates, do I want to continue doing this and do I not want to continue doing this?
Right.
For example, in the network marketing that I was doing, I mean, Melissa, I was literally slaving myself away in time.
Wait, can
And
you just say, because when in our last conversation, I was currently in that moment talking to somebody about getting involved in MLM, multi-level
yes.
marketing. And I've always kind of distanced myself from that. And so then you brought it up that that became an opportunity for you. And you also felt the same. You were like, ew, I'm not interested. I don't want to do it. So what was that shift for you? Because I remember it was kind of funny.
Okay, so, and I'm glad you asked this because I feel like people really have to check in with themselves.
Mhm.
So, my perspective with it was I didn't want to get into any of that because of what everybody else thought about it.
Okay.
So, a lot of people have this perspective that it's a bunch of people just trying to sell you this terrible product and they're just taking your money.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't about the product.
Okay.
So it was more or less like, what were people going to think about me selling
Ooh,
this product
okay.
rather than just the business model of what a MLM actually is? And so when I went through that process of, is this just about people pleasing and what people are going to actually think about me versus do I not really believe in this business model? It really was more about what people were going to think about me. So I will say though, when I got into it, it was more of, I was just going to appease my friend and take the product rather than work the
Okay.
business. But
I remember you saying that you really thought the product was good.
I did. I
That was
did.
like one of the game changers in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I would have not taken that product or sold that product if I didn't feel that it was obviously working or anything like that. Like I wouldn't be a fraud out there.
Gotcha.
And I felt better on it. But this was the thing. Fast forward that time because my husband, again, us living in Hawaii was like, you're going to have to get a job because I wasn't really working the business. I was just taking the product.
Okay.
And I thought, I think I can make a business out of this. And so, but again, this was sales I could do, but it was, did I want to do this type of sales? Well, fast forward some time, I completely lost myself in the mix of the business because the reality is, in network marketing, if you want to get to the top of a company, there's going to be a cost. And I think there's, as you would agree, there's a cost to everything that we do.
The
And
cost of success.
yes, and
Mm.
I completely lost myself in the mix of it.
Wow.
And
So what do you mean when you say you lost yourself? What does that mean?
so I gave up my time. Just my identity was in that product. And it wasn't in just who I was and what I wanted, Rachel, wanted.
Hmm.
It was, what does this company want for me? I am the label of this
Who
company.
do they
I mean,
want
it
me to
was,
be? Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people resonate with that. They take on the identity of the product
Yeah.
and then they lose themselves in the process because they're not sharing who they are, but rather they're just sharing the product.
Yeah.
And yes, the product was great for me and I learned so many valuable things.
Okay.
But and again, this goes back to one of the most valuable things I learned was because of the process of losing who I was, giving up my time,
Mm.
trading my time with my family for my work, working on weekends instead of being with them, going and doing different things, trying to get all these achievements for the reality of that is like nothing compared to losing your time.
Yeah.
And so I had this moment where I was like, I cannot do this anymore. While I still take the product, I love it. I thought
What was that moment though?
it was actually when I started getting into the coaching is when everything started to shift. Because if you realize with coaching, and Melissa, I know you'll agree with this, when you get into this coaching space and you start opening up your awareness in whatever category it may be, it could be in fitness, it could be in business, it could be in personal development, whatever that is, it's like the blinders are taken off and you go, what have I been doing this entire time? Yeah. Maybe it's you're not saving money. Okay, how come I haven't been doing this? But the reality is because you were so in it that you weren't even aware of really what was going around you and how to get out of it.
Hey guys, here's what most people do when they want to build wealth. They download another freebie, they try to piece together random advice from TikTok and YouTube and end up stuck, overwhelmed, inconsistent, and spinning their wheels. But that is not how you create true freedom. If you're ready for something smarter, deeper, and actually aligned with your life, book an Audacious Wealth Breakthrough Call with me. This is not cookie cutter coaching. This is where we look at your gifts, your vision, and your numbers. And we build a bold, personalized blueprint to help you turn your income into impact, your time into freedom, and your ideas into legacy. You've done the DIY hustle. Now it's time for strategy that fits like it was made for you because it was. Spots are limited, so head to the show notes and claim yours now.
And I thought two things. One, you could only have success and not a family and not time and not fulfillment.
Oh, wait, time out.
Yes.
Okay, but don't forget the second thing.
Yes.
Where did that message come from? Was that from the MLM company, or was that something like, did you see your dad have a hard time with relationships because he had a business?
No, it was myself. Like I saw what I was trading. I was giving all of my time so it was like I was winning all these things and I was literally on my phone and doing all these things. And I do remember my husband said, like, if this is what it's to be at the top of this company, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like, okay, whatever. You don't mind the free trips. You don't mind all of these things. And then the more I started to, instead of point the finger at everybody else and say, well, you're just not happy for me, or you're just not this, it was, Rachel, are you really happy in not having time? Are you really, do you really love, because I love to work. Work is my hobby, which sounds crazy.
No, but I get it.
I love it.
Yeah.
It allows me to express my creativity. It's something that I just really thoroughly enjoy. But what I didn't have was the balance between the two. And so going into that was the mindset I thought I had. In order to have success, I had to give up all of my family, all of my time of what that looked like, or I could have my family and my time, but I couldn't have a business. And that right there was that lie that I'd completely been telling myself. That wasn't true. I could have both. I just didn't know how to juggle both. And that's where I had to create that shift and change. And that's where the whole concept of people can really have a amazing, successful, thriving business, but they can also have an amazing life, an amazing family, amazing relationships that are cohesive. Like they can coexist together. And a lot of people don't think that you can have those two. And that's where they lose themselves in that process.
It's funny that this, like, I didn't even organize this in this way, but I was just having a conversation with somebody briefly about this yesterday again. And we were just talking about balance and do you think it's possible? Do I think it's possible? And I kind of have this, and I'm curious to see if this is along the lines of what your belief is around this, or if it's the opposite. I don't believe that you can be giving your 100% attention to every area of your life at the same time, which actually, as I'm saying that out loud, sounds like what you are saying. And so for me, it's almost like I have to accept that things are going to be fluctuating all the time, the different areas of my life. Sometimes I'm going to have more time and energy for friendships, romantic relationships, time to work on my business, time to work on my physical health. Or I have to be okay with things being maybe at 30% attention, 50%. I have to accept a lower amount of attention on a consistent basis for certain areas of my life in order to give more attention to other areas.
Correct.
Okay.
So that is true. And then I'm going to take it to another, like the next level of that.
Okay.
What if we all were intentional with our time? Meaning, what if that time with a significant other or our kids or working out, what if we intentionally penciled that in to our schedule and we created space for that?
Mm-hmm.
And then with our business, we intentionally worked towards whatever that is that we are wanting. Because a lot of the time, people cannot work intentionally or can't make time for the date nights or whatever the case may be, because time is forever passing. And if we don't schedule it and we don't actually say, I am going to mark out this time for this, just time passes us. We go, oh my gosh. I even saw someone say, here we are into the 14th of January already. Like, where did the first 2 weeks go? It goes by so quickly.
So fast.
And so if we are actually focused on what do we want? What does this look like? And we break that down, then we've created this space and this protection around this time, because you're right. You cannot give 100% in every area. And you shouldn't be, because if you're giving 100% in every area, that is diluted.
Right.
It's completely diluted.
Yes.
And people are not getting the best of you in that dilution.
Right.
But if you have intentionally created these pieces and you have set up those, and that was one of those things. One of my boundaries was, my time is for this portion of the morning. That's not selfish. That's giving me the best of me during that time. Why wouldn't we give ourselves that space? Then,
but wait. That's a self-worth thing.
It is.
To be able to say, even like to your kids, to your spouse, to your boss, to be like, I'm sorry, Henry, 10 to 12, this is my time. Don't call me. Don't text me. Your kids, like, listen, go back to your room. This is my reading time, whatever. I think for most people, that's probably the hardest piece.
It is, because a lot of people think that that is selfish.
Yes.
But I would ask, and I would say, why? Why is creating space for yourself selfish? Because this is the thing. So many people get frustrated, let's say, at Henry for barking orders at them and saying, I need this, I need that. And it's just like, gosh, like my boss just demands all of this stuff to me. If we paused and we said, okay, yes, he is demanding these things of you, but who is allowing that?
Yes.
Who has not created that space to say, Henry's not going to have this time in order to do that? Because when you set up that space for yourself and you really honor that time, that is when people and you are able to give your best to other people, because you've already had like that automatic win for yourself. And you go, this feels really good because now I've given myself this space. I can now give space to other people and I can now help them or do whatever that may look like for you.
It's the cuppeth overflowing if. Yeah,
Exactly.
I have a
Exactly.
great example. Like I wake up early so that I can have that time for myself because
Yes.
I noticed that if I wake up and immediately like jump into getting my daughter ready for school and then jump into the car and bring her to school and blah blah blah, go about my day, I'm frustrated, I'm irritable, I'm grouchy, I'm just not happy and I immediately feel rushed. And so I noticed like very when she was very young, I realized this. So I have always planned to wake up at least an hour, maybe even like 2 hours if I can get myself up before she wakes up. Because not only is that like my magic time in terms of like if I'm going to write in my journal, write a blog post, like do any kind of work, I'm uber focused at that time. But just reading, if I want to just kind of sit in quiet and like
Right.
meditate or just whatever, that's my time to do that. And I'm so much happier because exactly what you said, it's like maybe I've already crossed something off my list, so I already feel successful for the day.
Yes.
But
Yes.
also, yeah, I don't know exactly what it is about it. It's just it gives me time to take care of myself, which makes me happier.
Right. And
Yeah.
that is so important that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people don't create that time and that
Yeah.
space, yet they project everything, like you said with your daughter, same with my kids. It's like, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. It's like, wait a second.
Mhm.
That's not their fault. That's your fault. You didn't get up. You didn't make the lunch the night before.
Yeah.
You didn't do this. So when we really take the focus, because and this is the biggest takeaway, is
Mhm.
if we can look at people more as holding up a mirror that is reflecting back to us, that's really when we get the insights of what is this really about.
I'm
And
kind of mad at you
so sorry.
because you're making me you're reflecting me to me and I don't like it. The other day, my daughter had a volleyball tournament and she was late because her alarm didn't go off. She was at her dad's house. Her alarm didn't go off. And so I got to his house ready to pick her up and she was not ready and her backpack wasn't ready. And then she forgot a couple things and blah, 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 blah. And I was mad at her because I was like, girl, you got to be doing this the night before, blah, 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 blah. She's 11.
Right.
She needs somebody, me or her dad, to tell her, hey, it's 8 p.m. the night before. Is everything packed and ready to go? Do we have snacks for you? Do we have blah, blah, blah? And yeah, it's not her. It's me.
Right. So and that's the thing. And a lot of people don't like to do that
Yeah, it's
because
not
and
fun.
go through that process
Hmm.
because ego and
Hmm.
responsibility or accountability. We're just like it's so much easier to be like, well, she should have been ready. That's her dad's fault. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, can we take that a step further in everything that you just said? And that is the biggest thing with our time,
Hmm.
with our workspace, with our boundaries. People cannot take from us unless we are giving it to them.
Yeah.
They just can't. And so it's like if you say, this is my time, this is my protected space. If someone comes in and tries to mow it over, that is your time to say, so sorry. And I think that's where also people get this misconception of that it's mean to say no or I
Or
can't
you're
or not right now.
difficult.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's exercising. And then people will also go, I can respect that. The people that can't respect it are the people that
Shut off.
have their own triggers or issues or problems with people saying no to them. But people will
Hmm.
actually honor you as long as you demonstrate that and then come back around and say, okay, my 2 hours is up of my me time. Now, what can I do for you? Then they go, oh, that's not so bad because there's that
Yeah.
give and take.
Yeah.
So it's so important. And so many people, they don't do that.
I am upset that this has already been an hour because I feel like we could talk for another hour, maybe even two more, because I feel like this is just tip of the iceberg.
Oh, and it is. It
Yeah.
is. That's the thing.
Okay, well, this is good because now I have an excuse to ask you to come back and we can talk about all the stuff that we're not going to have time to talk about today. One
Absolutely.
thing I for sure, because this is coming up, that I for sure want to have you bring up and talk about is your retreats and the one
Yes.
coming up in April, because also I might want to go. And I also want to hear about how that process has been for you to create this and think about other events that you, or retreats rather, that you might want to have. So yes, please take it away.
Absolutely. So this retreat that's coming up is actually going to be in Spain.
Yes.
So I will be the main speaker for that event that we will be going over just the depths of what we started to talk about and really building it into where you're at right now to having that success and that fulfillment come from within. And a lot of people lose their, what they say is drive and passion. And a lot of that is they've just lost themselves.
Mhm.
And so we'll be focusing that on in April, that retreat. Now, the reason why I've really tried to incorporate these retreats into my coaching program is because my coaching program, it being so white gloved, more a bespoke coaching,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where not everybody can get in because I only work with 3 people. I'm very, very much about intentional time and intentional transformation.
Mhm.
So I don't want my calendar just absolutely filled with people coming in and out. I want to make sure that that time that those people have really creates that space for them. So the retreats actually allow you to get these pieces and create this space for yourself within a very short period of time. Not to mention, it allows you to go and escape for a little while from all the
Oh my
noise that's
God. And in
happening. So,
Malaga, right?
yes,
Which I've
yes,
never been, but I've heard about it so many times and I'm
yeah,
crying
it
because of the money I'm gonna spend. But I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go because as soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm there.
It is one of those things. It is going to be an absolute transformative experience. And our place overlooks the Mediterranean Sea. We have a brand shoot photographer that is coming alongside of
Oh
us,
my God.
who is going to be doing photo shoots for all of the guests. And so
Ooh.
it's really going to be just like the ultimate package, but it's also about the transformation. Right. I mean, yes, going and escaping is fantastic, but just having that space to get clear about what you want and just feel just revived in your business because I had once been there and then now I'm in this completely new space.
Yeah.
I really want that for other people. And so we'll be having more retreats. It's called the Intentional Escape. The reason
Love
for
it.
that is obviously because it is something that we decide that we want to do.
Yeah.
And to get away from the noise is obviously escaping into that other place intentionally.
Yeah. And I was at first, I was almost thinking, like, I don't know that I ever consciously was thinking it, but it was almost like going to these retreats is a luxury, which it is,
It
but
is.
it's also, as you were talking, I was like, this is a necessity. Not only like, because I've talked about before, just going on vacation, getting, like you said, away from the noise, getting out of being in the routine and being able to kind of see it from the outside is so important and necessary, but also creating this intentional space to step away for the purpose of kind of reconnecting to whatever it was about your business in the first place that brought you to it, that you're passionate about it. Because like you said, sometimes you just get inundated in like the day to day, the minutia, or hiring employees, training people, and you just forget sometimes what was the piece that was fulfilling you in the first place. So,
Exactly.
and I
And
think it's a
finding
maintenance.
that right and finding that clarity and getting into that space with other women.
Yeah.
If people really want to propel where they're at to where they're wanting to go, just get with a group of like-minded women and
Yeah.
a coach to work you through that in a
Mhm.
5 day like immersed like just intimate setting. You talk about massive change. I mean, massive, massive change.
How many people do you expect to be there for this whole thing?
So we can only have 14. So it is definitely a more intimate. So, and everybody stays in the house, has their own bedroom, has all of that. We do have bring a friend options where
Okay.
there's two beds in one room. So you do, and obviously there's a discount with that. But
How does that work actually? Because I have somebody I'm thinking of.
yeah, so it's instead of paying the full price,
Yeah.
it is you both actually receive the discounted price. I think it's
Okay.
like $1,300 off per person.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Huge.
significant. Don't quote me on that, but
Okay.
it's significant amount if you bring a friend. And if you're like me, I like to travel with people. So
I'm more of a solo traveler,
are
but
you?
I'm trying to be less of a solo.
Okay.
Um, well, usually because I'm impatient, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to this place, and if nobody's gonna go with me, then I'm just gonna go anyway. So,
Right.
and I'm actually trying to do that a little bit more in kind of like my day-to-day life now, not with just traveling, but also with like going to this activity or doing this thing because I noticed that I was kind of waiting for people to before I would do things, and life's too short for that.
Yes.
But I am thinking of somebody, at least one person, hopefully more, that would be interested in doing this. And I noticed on your site, it was like, you can just click and pay for the one ticket
Yes.
or the one RSVP or whatever you're calling it. How would I or anyone kind of organize the friend deal? Like, how would we go about that?
So you can do it two different ways. One, there is a link on there where it can be bring a friend,
Okay.
and you can have it into just one payment for the both of you.
Okay.
Or if you are paying separately, because there are some people, obviously for tax purposes, because of it being for
Sure.
business or whatever, they want to pay separate, then in that case, you would just let us know, and
Okay.
email us, and then we could send you two separate links. So
All right.
it's very, very simple transaction of how that's done. And then if you end up wanting to do the photo shoot or whatever that looks like, then you're obviously able to opt into any of that as well.
Okay. And one more question about it. Is food and drink is it like an all-inclusive thing or
The majority of breakfast and lunch, and then there are some curated dinners. So, and there's a pool, so you'll have pool time. There's option for massage and Reiki and mastermind. I mean, it is going to be absolutely amazing.
very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Okay. One last thing too. I know you have videos about time management.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that briefly before we finish up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I have created a three-part, short series of videos on time boundaries and time blocking and really being intentional with your time and how to do that.
Yeah.
And so you can go to my site, rachelclosson.com, and find those free videos there. Like I said, they're short. They come with a workbook, so you're able to work through them and just check in with yourself to, am I setting up these boundaries? Am I creating this space for myself? And what does that process actually look like?
Awesome. Okay, so you mentioned your website. How else can people get in touch with you and contact you?
So my website is the best place. That has the retreats on there. It has the video series. It has the coaching application if you are interested in working alongside with me. And so again, just rachelclosson.com is the best way to find me.
Okay. And one last question. What is the most audacious thing you've ever done? And then what is the most audacious thing you hope to accomplish in the near future?
I would say the biggest thing would be stepping out and being bold and doing the uncomfortable.
Mm.
So, doing these retreats abroad, I will say 1 week previous to this, I had actually told someone, I don't want to do international travel. I don't want to go do these things. And 1 week later, I got the invitation
Oh
in
my
order to
God.
do them. Like, I'm not even
The
joking.
universe was like, hell no, you're not going to back out of this
Exactly.
now. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I really want to encourage, I think we think so small for ourselves. And
Totally.
we think just need to stay in this little comfort bubble. And yes, I'm doing things, but really stepping out and getting ourselves out there for the possibility of something even bigger. And that was traveling for me, traveling abroad, there were so many components to that I was fearful of with like flying and that type of thing. Speaking, I absolutely love it. But getting away from my family and doing these different things, that was a very, very big step. And so I would say like, live just in this. And I think you even said it, Melissa, like live in the moment, step out there, live boldly and just with passion and excitement and intentionality, and be meaningful in everything that you say and do. Because when you do that, there is more fulfillment in that than just letting the day run you by.
What's coming up for me as you're saying that is sometimes I notice that my immediate response is a no. And I don't want to live that way. I want to start out with a yes and then see how that feels. And if the yes is uncomfortable for logistical reasons or logical reasons or reasons that I really should pay attention to, then okay, fine. Maybe I then approach a no. But I'd rather entertain the opportunity or the idea first and then determine if it's right or not right for me.
Right. What does this look like? What and really write it out. Like writing, the fact that you journal is huge. So don't just think through the process. Write out the process of how would this be beneficial? Why does this need to be a yes? But also, why does this need to be a no? And then ask yourself with those no's, is this true? Is this reality? Can I really not afford to go? Can I not afford this? Or is it, I'm just substituting it for something else because that's easier? That's really intentionally looking at something with an open mind.
I love that you have such conviction when you say that too, because even sometimes when I'm telling clients to write out the pros and cons, like really, sometimes I almost feel like it's cliche. I feel like people over or underestimate actually the power of physically writing something down and looking at it and then thinking about it again and comparing. And I really do, like, at least for me, that makes such a giant difference.
It does. And I mean, if you looked at the dynamics of how it actually works in your brain, it's huge. And that's why kids should do it. Adults should do it. It is so great for the brain and how it processes and gets rid of false information, keeps good information. It's like a filter. Writing it down acts as a filter in your brain.
Whoa, that's very cool.
It's pretty amazing. Check that out.
Is there like a book or anything that you've ever read around that specifically?
No, it's more of just if you've listened to Andrew Huberman, he's a neuroscientist, and just so many people that talk about just the mechanics of journaling and writing it down. And it's literally like the lubricant for your brain. So if people practice gratitude and the simple thing is doing it 2 to 3 minutes a day can make all the difference. But whatever you end up writing, and this is why it's so important for children, is when they actually write down and journal for 2 to 3 minutes, which is just so small. And it could be like nothing that they're writing down. The part of their brain processes certain things. And it will, like I said, it will literally filter out and delete what is not true. And that's why people have more emotional resilience and stability because of journaling, because of writing that out.
Okay, that's our second episode, by the way.
It's quite fantastic. It's amazing how the brain works.
Okay. Wow. I love that.
Thanks for having me. This has been amazing. I love chatting with you.
Same here. Thank you so much. I really want to do another episode with you. So I can't wait for that. And yes, I'm going to get in touch with you about your retreats. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. This was amazing.
Thanks, Melissa. I've enjoyed our time.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of the Audacious Founder Podcast, Being Bold in Business. If this sparked something in you, if it made you think bigger, dream louder, or take one bold step forward, then don't let it stop here. The real transformation, that happens off the feed. Head to the show notes and drop your name on our email list because our community gets the unfiltered tools, strategies, and stories that I don't share anywhere else. Audacious moves only. I'll see you in your inbox.